those of you who invaded these shores will, like each of us, one day pass to another shore, to a country far beyond, where above noise and danger there is lasting peace. And when that day comes, your story will live on here. For greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
Whenever the world makes you cynical, whenever you doubt that courage and goodness is possible, stop and think of these men. If you can stand, please stand. If not, please raise your hand. Let us recognize your service once more. These men waged war so that we might know peace. They sacrificed so that we might be free. They fought in hopes of a day when we no longer need to fight. We are grateful to them.
It's so different, obviously, from what happened 70 years ago, and yet it evokes so many memories for those who were there. The moment as the front comes down and they see for the first time the beach in front of them. Today, tourists will greet them. 70 years ago, many of them lucky to make it off the craft under intense fire from the German placements placed along this Atlantic defence. On the beach, just yards from where a service is being held to mark the Dutch veterans, you can see some veterans of D-Day reliving that moment. Some have travelled across the Channel, some just taking rides in tanks and jeeps, reliving the moments at the same beach, the same day, but very different circumstances for all of them. Many of them accompanied by members of their family. For the first time for many of them, in the past, they've come here to Arromanches to remember those who died in the Normandy campaign, to be with their comrades, to share a drink, to share memories, and to remember those that were lost.
The exact origins of the drumhead service is not entirely clear, but we certainly know it dates back hundreds of years from when drums were used on the battlefield as communication, sending signals to different parts of the battlefield. And then on completion of the battle, or whenever there was a requirement for a religious service, the drums could be used, they'd be stacked, and then the regimental colours would be draped over them, and then it could be turned automatically into an altar for the service to be able to take place.
Princess Anne is here as Commander-in-Chief. She is going to be making a reading at the service.
In our days down, all our days and all our nights, till the dawn.
Let us remember before God all who took part in the Normandy landings, those who gave their lives as comrades in the British Army, the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force, and from other countries, who we remember with pride.
And now eyes to the skies as the parachutists reenact that moment 70 years ago.
Here at Portsmouth, which was the main departure point for those troops as they headed across the Channel to the Normandy beaches, we're watching an amphibian landing, a staged amphibian landing, and you can see just there in the water HMS Bulwark.
I've thought many times the D in D-Day meant Death Day.
I don't care how tough you are, it gets you. It gets you.
"70 years hasn't erased any of the feelings that we had for our soldiers there, our buddies that we've been with, and to see them die there will never leave your mind."
We were told nothing ahead of time.
And we could see the silhouettes of the ships, and what I said in there, of course, was that when I saw all the ships, I said, well, if you have any doubt about it now, you look down there, this is going to happen one way or the other.
We were going into combat. We were making an invasion on a foreign shore, and we knew that there was a high probability there'd be a lot of casualties.
Firepower was coming from every direction, and it looked as if the whole hillside and the cliffs just burst into fire. It was hard to tell who was dead and who was alive. But I had this awful feeling of being useless. You know, hearing all these guys around me dying and drowning, and I couldn't do anything about it.
If I talk about a cemetery and the national anthem it taps, I get emotional. I can feel it right now. When I go to those cemeteries, as often as I've gone there, it gets me. It still gets me. I can feel it right now.
And it was a very important event, and it had to happen, or it had to be successful, otherwise we'd be somewhere else today, maybe saluting Hitler, I don't know.
If we had failed on D-Day, then Hitler certainly would have gone into England. He would have done that, and probably would have got his wish to control the whole world. I am grateful to God that I lived through that, and I say a prayer every night for the wives and children of the guys that we left over there.
The dawn of June the 6th comes up like thunder over the invasion coast as Allied heavy and medium bombers, following in the wake of Bomber Command, send down their share of the 20,000 tons of bombs dropped in the 24 hours preceding the landings. The softening up of the German defenses along a broad stretch of coast.
It was one of the most daring operations ever planned. It began with parachute and glider landings under cover of darkness, and massive attacks from the air, and then bombardment from the seas. An armada of over 4,000 Allied vessels sailed towards the occupied Normandy coast.
This is it. They're on the beach.
The deception over where the invasion would come had worked, and 60,000 British troops stormed the beaches on this vital day exactly 70 years ago, an amphibious assault in which newsreels at the time played down the casualties and the number of dead.
With characteristic brilliance, the Navy keeps up its cross-channel service.
In all, 130,000 troops, British, Americans, Canadian, the Free French and others took part, landing on 5 beaches, codenamed Juno, Gold, Omaha, Utah and Sword. Around 4,400 Allied troops, airmen and sailors, died that day, 1,500 of them British. But the operation turned the tide of the war and marked the beginning of the end for Adolf Hitler's forces. Back on the home front, the wartime Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, gave his V for Victory sign. The news of the Allies' success celebrated across Britain as it filtered through. Though many more Allied lives were to be lost, the battle for Normandy was successfully begun.
Round one of the invasion is won on points.
Caroline Wyatt, BBC News.